Welcome to the I Created That podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Jansel, and I'm excited that we are back. We actually have two incredible guests. Usually I'm only introducing one, but we've got an awesome duo today. I have the pleasure to introduce Tara and Monique today, who are the co-founders of Salt Leisure Wear Inc. And they have been friends since high school. I was like, wow, this is an incredible story. Always loved giving back to charities. They founded Breathe and Believe Charity Gala in 2013, and they really just wanted to build their own business, their own empire, and be entrepreneurs, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. So I'm sure we're going to dive into that today. But welcome to the show, Tara and Monique.
Thank you for having us. Much. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm super excited you're here. I know we've been pretty involved, obviously on the site side of things and seeing things come to life. And now I have the pleasure to kind of chat with you a little bit about that and share your story. So maybe we could just kick it off if you guys want to talk a little bit about, who you are and kind of what you do.
Sure, I'll let you go first. So my name is Monique, and I'm a co-founder with Tara for Salt Leisure Wear Inc. And we've, of course, Sarah mentioned that we have been friends since high school. I actually currently work at Canada Life, but I do this part-time currently until I can eventually go full-time. So yeah, this actually started in 2020 during COVID. So we both had a quick phone call and we were talking about, because of our Breathe and Believe Charity Gala had unfortunately had to be shut down due to COVID, we were like, what can we do to, give back to the community and to the cystic fibrosis community to continue that on. So once we actually spoke about that, we came up with the idea of what about having clothing, and that gives a portion of its sales back to the CF community. So that kind of sparked the idea for us in that end. So yeah.
So I'm Tara, the other co-founder, obviously. So that was just basically how it started. We chose cystic fibrosis because I do suffer from cystic fibrosis. So that has always been the top of our giving back. Where we started Breathe and Believe from was when I got diagnosed, and that's why it's such an important cause to us and why it kind of grew from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. And what I love about this is your story is so real. And, even when I started my brand and my business before I was full-time, I was working a full-time job and it was my side hustle. And just, I love seeing people kind of dream bigger and think about really cool things they can do. And just your give back portion of everything that you're offering is so amazing. So we're going to probably dive into that a little bit today too. So that's really cool. So pandemic based, we see a lot of creativity coming out. Maybe you could share for us, because I know you're actually making clothing, kind of a little bit about the clothing and kind of what that process has been like for you.
Yeah, so we decided to go the route of starting from scratch, the tech packs and everything, because we wanted to not only do a mass market line that everyone could wear, but we wanted to really include everyone. So we started what we call our resilient line, which is adaptive wear that kind of works around medical devices. So right now we're just doing picks and ports with hopes to expand that soon. So it was important for us to design it so we could design these features into the clothes that aren't as noticeable, so that people can wear them out without people going, why is there a hole there? Why is this there? They're kind of hidden into the seams and hidden in there. So that was why it was so important to us to make the clothes from scratch, and make them locally was just important, just to have that quality and make sure that we could keep a close eye on things and be part of it more we could.
And also to add to that, we spoke to a number of individuals in the CF community, and they did mention that they had to cut up their clothing or fully remove their clothing for medical treatments. So that also kind of sparked the idea for us to say, wait a second, this is something that we could actually really hone in on and see if this is what we could do to help change that within the market today. So, because we've never seen anything like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's such it's so like specific and niche, and yet your clothing, like to anyone who might not be aware of some of those things, would see that on the marketplace. And like, I can attest to this, and it's like, it's really cool clothing. It's like relaxed, you know, there are, you know, little zippers or, you know, things here and there, but they look like they're a part of the design. So I feel like, you know, even if you didn't, you might be apt to wear that. But I just feel like that's filling such a, like, it's solving such a problem, right? That you're after.
And it's not just in the CF world, but people doing dialysis and chemo, they also can use these pick and port shirts. So it's not specific to the CF world.
Yeah, and being comfortable while they're at that, right? So, yeah. Do you want to share kind of, like, I know there's some specificity about like what the clothing is actually made of and that kind of thing as well?
So we wanted to actually go the route with more natural fibers. So we went with a bamboo fiber to start with, but we definitely want to be able to use other natural fibers as we grow. But because bamboo has these moisture wicking and odor resistant properties, and it's extremely soft, we wanted to make sure we had high quality products that we're selling and make sure that everyone feels comfortable, but not feel like they're suffocating in their clothes in a way. So we definitely wanted to make sure we had great quality.
Yeah, for anybody out there that's listening and has not had bamboo clothing, it is like the softest and most amazing fabrics. I feel like we definitely need to highlight that.
We also wanted to stay away from like the throwaway trends that people, you know, they buy a $10 shirt, it lasts them, you know, a season, they throw it in the dump just because there's so much clothing in landfills. So if we can get a shirt where you pay a little more, but it'll last you, that was important to us as well.
That's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about the design process. I feel like there are folks out there that ask about this kind of thing all the time. And, you know, with my business, I know I was actually curating things and I was involved with like some design aspect, but not quite to the degree that I know you both were. And obviously for this kind of thing, you'd have to be pretty actively involved in that. Like, what was that like for you? And is this kind of like the first time? I think it's the first time you're doing it, but yeah.
Well, it was a learning process.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning process. Because we were obviously in COVID during that time, we had everything over Zoom. So we didn't really get the chance to physically see the design process. So we were sent updates with our designer, and we had to do a few revisions based on the prototype we originally started with. So we did have one-on-one meetings at the office when it was available, but for the most part, because our designer was in Toronto, we did have everything virtual. So that was a little bit difficult, but he was amazing. He listened to every detail we mentioned, and he was able to fulfill that for us. And yeah, I mean, it was a great experience for the design part anyway.
It's a long experience as well.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize the process it takes because they just think, you know, it's a t-shirt, there's, you know, a shirt, what's sweater is a sweater is a sweater. But it's more than that, because like every sleeve every sleeve is a little different, and how you want, like, you know, learning about the way the different fabrics work. And you know, it was something like we didn't know we needed a different fabric for
the ribbing,
the ribs, that like the ribbing around the neck, and it's like all those little things that you don't realize come up when you just buy a shirt or buy a pair of pants. So all those little details, you really get to, you're really like, oh wow, we didn't realize there was so much.
Yeah, I feel like even large companies that are out there that like mass market, you know, all kinds of crazy things, it's like they're doing that like 6 months to a year or more in advance, like even just for some of those designs, because there really is like, it's an iterative process. We have a few clients that we have a performance underwear brand, and we have, you know, another fitness brand, and same kind of thing. They've kind of gone through like the design process with the mindset that it was like, to your point, it's like, it might be a t-shirt or, you know, a pair of pants or something, but it's like the 2.0 enhanced version that's really specific to, you know, who you're serving. And so it's new, like you're carving out new territory, which is so cool. Yeah.
And I think even as well, just the delivery and the manufacturing process and having everything received, that was definitely a challenge on our part, especially not just with COVID, but just with communicating in that. So we definitely had our fair share of learning that experience with, you know, it takes time for these things to come in, and we have to review them and sign off on them. And then if the ribbon comes in late, we have to, you know, go in and make sure that that's the type of color we want. So I definitely feel like that's, a lot of people don't really think about that as well going into it.
And as much as you're in charge, you're not.
No, you're not. You try to
fall in. Yeah, like you have to wait for the fabric, and you have to wait for this. And if they're out of it, or, you know, you're, as much as you're like, I want it now, it doesn't happen like that. And, you know, like ours, we started this journey, the manufacturing journey, in September, and we didn't get our first launch. We, like, end of April, early May, by the time we got all of our clothes. So it was a journey for sure.
Yeah, and all of your pieces are like Canadian, locally made, which is really amazing. You know, I'm curious kind of how it went when you were looking to actually find like a designer to work with in that way, because that's always an interesting journey as well, I feel. It's finding the right provider.
There are a lot out. There's more in Canada than I thought there was personally, but you've got to be careful for sure. Who you choose. We talked to a few before we chose ours, and we're still talking to some, as we know our manufacturer won't do certain things. So we're still talking to other ones and still choosing for our next line where we want to go. It is a process, and like learning about what each one does and how they do it a little differently. And like the little things like the stitching, all of that matters as we have come to find out. So it's definitely, it's easier in, like, to have it in Canada, in my opinion, just because we don't have to wait and we don't have to worry about time changes and that, where overseas, you know, there's that time difference and the extra shipping length and all of that. So it was easy. I think it was easier having it in Canada, especially our first go round, but.
And specifically with ours, for our first manufacturing, we actually had, the designer was already into the manufacturing process. So we didn't have to outsource anyone. It was already within our whole package, if that makes sense. So it was a little bit easier for us to kind of get that started versus having to locate a completely separate individual for that service.
Yeah. And so when you think about like starting a new product-based business, especially when you are the maker of this, like you're actually creating something custom, what kinds of like resources or things did you use to get started?
A lot.
We use a lot of resources.
We started simple with the Small Business Center. We started there, and he sent us to Pillar Innovation Works for the Libro Social Enterprise Incubator. And from there, we just started connecting with people. They started introducing us to other people, other programs like Verge Capital or the E-commerce North. And then from there, like just networking, that was very, very important. And listening and understanding that these people are actually here to help us, not to like try to, you know, hinder us in any way. So we used anyone that we could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I tell everybody, so I love when I was hearing that. And it's like, it takes a community when you're trying to build a business, and, you know, you really want that community of people to kind of like draw on experiences and learn like what has worked and like what is even out there and available to you, you know what I mean, as resources as you're kind of doing your journey. So I think that's incredible. I know I've done some work with the Small Business Center and things as well. And they're such an amazing crew. They give back so much to the community. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So folks out there might be wondering, and I know this is on audio, but there will be some video portion. There is a beautiful banner behind you with a beautiful logo. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the name and, you know, where that came from and just kind of the branding process that I know you've underwent with somebody really amazing.
So we actually ended up going with a designer, Damien Box Branding, and we actually spoke to another friend of ours actually that had used his services before, so we were more inclined to go with him versus someone else that we had actually looked out for. So once we actually spoke to him, he was amazing. He sat us down over the phone, and we talked about what we were looking for. And it was kind of like an easy process based on how it was initially set up for us. And from there, we just went for different prototypes and different designs that he provided to us, and we just kind of narrowed down one, and this was the one that we fell in love with, including our symbol as well. So
yeah, and it does look amazing. I love it. And the salt has a meaning as well, right?
It does, yes.
So the salt comes from the cystic fibrosis community. So salt is like a very important part of our diet in the CF world, and it might sound weird, but like we sweat out more salt, so our body needs to absorb more. So it's without getting too graphic, it's always like the CF community is always like the salty life, salty community, and like if you were to like lick us, we're saltier because we sweat it out more. But like I don't know how else to say that, but it's true. Yeah. So there is a meaning. Like it is more than just. It kind of connects us back to that CF community. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. It's just as custom as the amazing apparel that you're making. So awesome. So maybe you could talk a little bit about, you talked about Breathe and Believe, like your gala, and that kind of got shut down. Is that something that you're picking back up? And like, how does salt kind of play a role? I know this is part of your give back. I want to talk more about that because I know you've got other give back, but just kind of what your thought process is around that and how it ties in.
Yeah, we would love to bring it back.
Yes, I was just going to say, it just based on the overwhelming amount of people I speak to that say, when is it coming back? When is it coming back? Mm-hmm. Everyone seems to really enjoy themselves. So it's, unfortunate that we had to shut it down, but, everyone's health and safety is more important. But we are looking, maybe if things go well, depending on how things go next year, but it all kind of varies because it does take about a year in advance to plan. Mm-hmm. So we would have to start in November to get everything going for the following year. So, and of course, with our business as well, like balancing both, it would be a little bit of a challenge, but I do think we would love to be able to make it come back again.
Yeah, the goal is to have it come back. Like she said, like we will get into it come November, see if we can start. We hope that, Salt Leisure can be one of the major sponsors for that event, and we can, really help bring that money, like more and more money into the CF world, and use our kickback to kind of help out there as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So you do have a kickback program, the 5x5. Do you want to share a little bit about what that looks like?
So our 5x5 kickback, you want to take half of it and I'll take
Sure.
half of it? All right.
So 5% of our sales will actually be going back to the CF community, and we're starting with the cystic fibrosis for 2022, and we are actually partnered with them as well. And then the other 5%.
The other 5% goes back in care packages to people suffering chronic illnesses who are in hospitals or, bed rest or long-term care and stuff, to help them just feel a little more comfortable and give them that little boost of just love, right? Like just feeling like people are caring about them and not forgotten about. Mm-hmm. And we did it because we've both been there.
Yeah.
We've both suffered our own illnesses, and we know what it's like to kind of be bedridden for long periods of time. And we both were for over a year.
Yeah.
And it's horrible, and you feel forgotten, and you feel like, nobody's around even when you do have support. So we just felt like having someone step up and say, here's just a little something to brighten your day was what we wanted to do with the care packages.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. And you'd be hard pressed to find a business owner like you that's doing something that didn't actually experience that and then be like, okay, how do we make this better? What can we do? Sure. Yeah, amazing. So your online process, so you're online, and I know folks can be listening to this podcast anytime, but we are embarking on a busy holiday season, and just knowing some of the incredible apparel that you have feels very holiday appropriate. So I'd love to know what your plans are. I know people can shop with you online. We're going to include the show links for sure, so people can check your store out. But what else are you doing? Because I believe you have a retail location and maybe doing some venturing out as well.
Well, right now we just have an office location, so we do actually offer pickup if you're in the London or surrounding area. But as of right now, moving into the holiday season, we do have quite a few pop-up and shows and trade shows coming up within the next few months. So
I think it's the October 15th weekend.
Yes.
We are in Niagara, West Niagara, and in November, I'm not exactly sure on the dates, I apologize, we are in Hamilton for one, and December we are back in the Niagara Christmas vendor event. So we're traveling a little bit, getting our name out there, and so feel free to stop by and visit us.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah. And I feel like what an incredible time to do that and just get out like in person and connect. I know a lot of people think we're going to get into this online thing and it'll just be online. And I mean, some people do, but I feel like there's just so much more to getting out and talking about what you do and sharing, you know, your great cause and just all the things you're doing that really start to build community around the actual brand, and you two as well, obviously being front runners in that. So really cool. Awesome. What about inspiration? Like, did you have some inspiration and things when you kind of got started to figure out kind of like where you kind of settled on with like the type of clothing that you offer?
I think just based on, you know, what we've been through, going back to what Tara had mentioned, you know, being in comfortable clothing, especially not just from being in a situation where, you know, we weren't in the best situation, but during COVID, a lot of people were running for, you know, the sweatpants and the loungy wear, comfortable clothing. So, you know, we're mostly in that. As soon as we get home, you know, we're mostly throwing that on, and it just feels nice and homey and comfortable. So we definitely wanted to take that approach for our clothing line. So,
yeah. Amazing. I feel like athleisure, leisure wear, all that stuff, it's been so hot. It has not gone away. I think we got a taste for like what being comfortable actually feels like.
Yeah.
So,
and it's shifting to the way we go to work now. You know, a lot of different companies are starting to implement more comfortable wear versus business attire. So,
and let's face it, a lot of women live in leggings, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
Like,
having leggings are a staple in most women's wardrobe.
Right.
So getting a good quality legging that also you kind of feel like you're in sweatpants and you have that stretch and you have that give is always a nice feature as well.
Definitely. And I know part of this is like clothing for everybody. Do you want to kind of speak to like size inclusivity, male, female, like all of that sort of thing?
So our clothes are currently for adults from male to female, and our sizes go from extra small to 4XL. So we definitely wanted to be as inclusive as possible. And we also wanted to show different body shapes and diversity within our branding and our showcase our models on our website. So you'll see that if you ever check us out. But that was really important to us to make sure that we were size inclusive, and we also offered high quality products as well. So.
Yeah, and I think and that's where the inclusivity is where the adaptive line comes in as well. We've never seen a mix of them together in the same line. Like we do, like we mentioned, we do have plans to expand that, but being able to shop with your, like at the same stores as your friends, when you have these differences in your bodies, when you have, you know, a medical port sticking out of your chest, or you have like your IV in your arm. So being able to just go with like being like, oh yeah, I can get a similar shirt to my friend and I don't have to worry about cutting it up or anything like that, making alterations is a nice feeling too. Like you feel like you're wanted as a customer as well.
I love that. Yeah, just totally from like the whole consumer angle of things. I feel like that's a huge piece of just feeling like you are part of that community, right? So, yeah, so that's incredible. So you've alluded a couple times. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's why we use diverse models as well. Like we're using different shapes, sizes, colors, because we want to be for everyone. That's the main goal.
I love that. So you've alluded a few times about what's next. What is next? Are you able to share anything with us?
We don't know.
We're kind of, right now, we're just kind of laser focused on our fall and winter items right now, but we do have plans to expand for the spring, so look out for that if everything, of course, you know, goes well. So
I think when it comes to like the specific pieces, we're unsure. when it comes to the resilient line, it's more than just sitting down and hashing it out. There's so much more to look at. The mass market line, easily, like, yeah, t-shirts, okay, great, we need some t-shirts. But when it comes to the adaptive line, it's getting them making them the right fit. So there's a lot more to go into it, and then thinking about what is the better option. Do we go adaptive for one way, or do we go the other way? So there's so many different ways to go around that. So we have a few ideas lined up for the next one, but we're just not quite sure which one is going to come together first.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Amazing. So for the person that's listening out there right now being like, I'm totally inspired, I want to do this, what's like one piece of advice you would leave them with to starting a unique custom brand?
I definitely think have patience and make sure that you listen to everyone's story. Like, be open to listening to anyone that has something to say that makes sense, and also take initiative for all the resources we have out there. Just talk to people, network, get out there, and I think that's probably one of the best advice.
Looking back, we were very naive coming into this, and we have learned so much by just, listening and learning, like just turning off everybody else's noise and actually listening to the experts, because everybody on the street will have an opinion about it, but listening to people who know what they're doing and listening to, networking and listening to the people who have been there or been in a similar situation was good as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Awesome. All right. So for folks that are out there listening that want to get their hands on some salt, where can they find you?
They can find us at www.saltleisurewear.com or on our socials at saltleisurewear.
Awesome.
And that's
and you guys,
Instagram,
Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Yeah.
Pinterest,
Awesome.
I think, too.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pinterest for sure for you guys, right? So that'd be amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so
sorry, I just wanted to quickly say a huge thank you to you, because you were such an amazing experience when it came to building our actual website,
Yes.
if those of you that don't know. So I just wanted to have a huge shout out to you, Sarah, and Jansel&Co.
You were one of those people we listened to.
Yes.
amazing. Oh my gosh, it's honestly my pleasure. I love what you're doing. I love working with apparel brands. You two are fantastic, and it was so much fun helping to build that out and just seeing like the photos come in and the branding and the site and like how all these different components like come together to create like the brand. So, oh my gosh, thank you for trusting in me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here. We're going to make sure we include some links in the show notes. Go show Salt Leisure Wear some love. Check them out. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Monique.
Thank you.
Bye.